My name is Annalise Christine. Welcome to my channel if you are new. Welcome back if you've seen one of my videos before. Today we're going to be doing weekly reads number 7 for 2025. This is from February 16th to February 21st. So on the 16th, I actually finished 0 books. On the 17th, I finished 2. The first book I finished on the 17th was Paw Prints on Our Heart by Kirk. This book I did win a Goodreads giveaway, and so it was one of the 25 books I want to read in 2025. It's a nonfiction book where Kirk goes through his life, the highs, the lows, his faith, and then talks about the dogs he had in his life at that time and how much of a difference that they made in his life and how thankful he is for his dogs. And I felt like everything in this book I very much highly related to. It's a shorter book, but I absolutely loved my dogs growing up and love my dogs now. And I do feel like they've make a positive impact on my life, especially in those deep, dark times. Having a furry friend has just made all the difference in my life. And so I really enjoyed this book. I know it won't be for everyone, but I really liked it. And I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. The second book I finished on the 17th was Dragonfly and Ember by Diane Gabaldon. This is the second book in the Outlander series, and so I don't want to give too much away, but we are still following Claire. She goes back into time and hooks back up with Jamie. She again knows the future of Scotland, and so she's able to kind of know who the good guys are and bad guys are and try and make a difference. She also had a love interest in the first book, and so in this book, it's years later, but she's going back to that time in Scotland with her grown daughter. These books are really long, and I will say I listened to it. I think that's the best way for me to work through these books, and I am giving it 4 stars. I'm 20% into The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. I'm really enjoying it. It's a very intense storyline. There's guilds and assassins and lots of characters. You do switch points of view, and it doesn't always tell you when you do that, which is slightly annoying to me. But because there's lots of characters, lots of points of view, lots of things going on, it is an intense read. I feel like it's one of these books I have to pay attention when I read. And so I feel like my brain gets really tired reading these types of books. And so I try and break these books up a little bit as I'm reading and then throw in a more fluffy book at the end of the night when I'm very tired. And so I read part of The Way of Shadows today. My brain is getting very tired. So I'm going to start Where I Belong by Jade, which is the first book in the Alabama Summer series. I have read one of the books. I can't remember which one now. I really enjoyed it. This book is short, and I think it's just going to be a really fun romance, which is what I need if I'm breaking up a really intense, like either fantasy or just action book. I need a book that's completely the opposite. So I think this fits the bill. We shall see. It is also a series I want to finish this year. And so why not start now? The book I finished on February 18th was Where I Belong by Jade. In this book, we meet Mia. Mia lived in Alabama for a while, had a best friend named Tess, ended up moving away. The girls stayed in touch a little bit. They didn't see each other much, but Mia's had a rough road kind of taking care of her mom. And so her mom convinces her to have a fun summer with Tess. They're both now young adults. They're gonna have this fun summer, but before Mia goes and hangs out with Tess, she doesn't want to be a virgin anymore, so she stops at a bar, picks up a boy. So I'll let you know what I think of Where I Belong later. A one-night stand happens, and then she goes to meet Tess. Well, when she lived in Alabama, Tess had a brother, Ben. Ben was very, 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 very mean to Mia. So when Mia and Tess are hanging out the next day and her brother Ben shows up and he's the boy from the bar, things get a little interesting because Mia is very hesitant to engage with him because of their past. I thought this book was just a fun romance, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I finished 3 books on the 19th. The first one was Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is a fantasy set in like medieval times where we meet Durzo. He is an assassin, and Azo, who is an orphan boy and is living in a gang of sorts, but his direct higher up does not like him and is making his life miserable. And so he's trying to get out, and his goal is to apprentice for Durzo. Not that Durzo's is much better, because when he becomes an apprentice for him, he has to really turn his back on everyone else. This is the first book in a series, and so it took me a second to like know all the characters and even figure out who was going to be important, because with him being in a gang and possibly being an apprentice with Durzo, and then Durzo's people he knows, and I'm giving it 4 stars. The second book I finished on the 19th was Barbarian's Hope by Dixon. This is an alien romance in the 10th book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. In this book, our female is an alien. I believe in all the other books up to this point, our female has been a human. And so we finally get a female from the alien tribe that's resonating. We find out that she resonated before the humans came with Himelo, but tragedy struck them and they are no longer together. Himelo is very quiet and just wants to do what Asha wants and isn't wanting to really push her, even though he really likes her. And Asha takes that as he doesn't like me, and she's also struggling with grief herself. It definitely takes the help of the village, but this is a second chance romance, and I end up giving it 4 stars. The last book I finished on the 19th was Part of Your World by Liz Braswell. I am 30% into Part of Your World by Liz Braswell. This is the 4th or 5th book in the Twisted Tales series, I can't remember. But each of them follow a different Disney-like story. So this one is The Little Mermaid. We are following Ariel, and the twist is that Ursula did marry Prince Eric, and Ariel returns back to the sea. She becomes the queen, and Ursula is ruling on land. However, the witch is again threatening Ariel, so she has to return to land. She is still mute, so she's still dealing with that as well, but we kind of see the aftermath if Ursula would have won and Ariel lost. However, she finds out her dad might still be alive, and so she plans to go back to the surface to find him and free him. While her goal is to find her father, this leads her to bumping into Eric, him questioning everything that's been going on. I liked this book because it was almost like a sequel versus like redoing the whole movie. We just redid the very small part at the end. I liked that Prince Eric had a little bit more 3D-ness to him, and we get to see Ariel's feistiness. And I end up giving this book 4.25 stars. The last 2 books we're going to talk about, I finished on the 21st. The first one was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, which is the 3rd book in the When in Rome series. We're following the oldest sister, Emily. She is a 2nd grade teacher, and her nemesis from college followed her to Rome, Kentucky, and they're both teaching 2nd grade. However, halfway through the year, her nemesis, Jack, leaves because he's going to get married. In the summer, he comes back and ends up living in a place right next door. And after a mistake Emily made, she goes to Jack to try and fix it. And then Jack finds out that she's been writing a romance book and agrees to help her. She knows that Jack's dad is a writer, and so she agrees. But Jack has an additional secret that he's trying to figure out when to tell Emily. He actually has probably 2 secrets, to be honest. I really enjoyed this book. It's definitely my favorite in the series, and I end up giving it 5 stars. The other book I finished on the 21st was Beast by Jade Linwood. This is the 2nd book in the Charming series. In the first book, we figured out why Charming was duping all of these women, like marrying them and then taking them their jewels. And so in this book, he's on his way to fix it, but then gets taken into the Beast castle. He's there with 2 other men and then the Beast, which is a woman in this book, and he's trapped there. And so he doesn't really get to further his quest on fixing it for the ladies. And then the ladies meet the Queen of the Bears. And so this was very much a middle book struggle for me. I just felt like this book was very disjointed and we weren't making a lot of progress. It was fun to see the Beast as a woman, twist that on its head. And it was very much like Shrek, where there's lots of fairy tales kind of thrown together. And I think that was fun. But the actual story and plot line, I wasn't a huge fan of. I will probably read the 3rd one. This one came out in March, and so that 3rd one's gonna be a long ways coming, I think. But I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt for now and give it 3.5 stars. So those were the 8 books I finished from February 16th to February 21st. Let me know if you've read any of them or if you have a book recommendation down below.